This is Tennessee Talks with United States Congressman Tim Burchett.
Hello, I'm Congressman Tim Burchett, and welcome back for another episode of Tennessee Talks. Today we're doing a little different. Got my friend Jeffrey Roberson here. He's a TWRA, Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency officer, I guess I should say. Is that correct?
Correct.
Graduated UT, is that right?
Correct.
All right.
Knoxville,
and
the real UT.
Yeah, and you're friend. Yeah, no kidding. And you're friends with Andy Collins, and that's.
Well, he's my boss, so I guess I kind of have to be. Like
I guess you got to have to be friends with him. He's been good to me. Like I say, I call him all the time when I see a turkey or a deer or something, ask him what I'm supposed to be doing, and he usually tells me just to get out of the way and let them do their business. So that's pretty cool. But we're on the Tennessee River, Fort Loudon, if you live here. We're in the shade of Calhoun's restaurant, and so it's good to be here. I hope nobody throws any cornbread out, because then the carp will come up. That was one of the biggest things of the World's Fair. People would always talk about feeding the carp.
They're still here.
Yeah, they're still here. Tennessee River dolphins. But here in East Tennessee, I've often said we got some of the best lakes and streams in the country. There's a duck quacking over there. Big impact on our local economy. In addition to fishing, boating, and kayaking, of course, and canoeing, it's become more and more popular every year. It's funny, when I was a kid, you'd just see me out here with a john boat or somebody skiing, and now it's just everywhere. Is somebody a kayaker or something, or those, what do they call those, paddle boards? Stand-up paddle boards, yeah. I'm yet to master that. Have you?
I haven't tried yet.
All right, well, it's probably a good way to embarrass yourself, I guess. Of course, our waterways, they play an important role, moving materials and goods to the region. When I was county mayor, I would appear to city county building. Wasn't a day go by when the big barges would come down hauling rebar or some other product down the river, and it's a good thing that we manage them so well. Of course, I've been committed to supporting these water resources from my work on the Transportation Infrastructure Committee, and we're bringing awareness to the threat of invasive carps and other species that are on our rivers and lakes, and to me that poses one of the biggest threats to our ecosystem, I think, than anything, is because they populate so fast and they eat everything. Have y'all heard any reports of them on the Tennessee River yet?
In the lower ends, yes. This far up, we don't have any yet, and we're hoping to keep it that way. Yeah,
I just don't know how you're going to keep it. The eggs are going to get on a boat or in somebody's dry well or something, and then we're going to have them, or a bird's going to carry them up on their feet, and that seems to be what happens. Of course, I'm out on a boat with y'all today to see the great work you've been doing to protect our wildlife and make Tennesseans enjoy all the state has to offer safely. And I know it's kicking off. Senator Massey was just at a press conference with her Operation Dry Water, I believe it's called.
Correct.
So if you're drinking out on the water, don't do it, because the new laws that go into effect, you'll suffer the same fate as somebody that gets a DUI out on the roads. It's very expensive, and you might kill somebody, and that would be worse than anything else. But what exactly does TWRA do? What's your all's mission?
Our mission is to conserve and protect wildlife for future generations, and that's managed through hunting or regulations or not hunting in some cases. And we also have another mission of keeping the public safe through the Boating Safety Act.
Yep.
So those kind of go hand in hand, and as we were talking earlier, depends on the time of year. We don't do a ton of boating in the winter, so we focus on hunting then.
Right.
This time of year, it's all boating and no hunting.
Yeah. I can remember as a kid, TWRA agents would pull up, and we're in East Tennessee. There's no shortage of rednecks if you're here, and that's somebody on a two-stroke going across the bridge up there. Being a redneck, I'm not profiling. I can call somebody a redneck. It's not offensive. But where was I? Oh yeah. As a kid, I can remember being out on the lake with my dad, and TWRA would come up and check your limits. Of course, we were always big bluegillers. I don't think there was a limit on bluegill. No.
As many as you can catch.
Yeah, as many as you can catch. And we'd fillet them, and Mama would fry them up, and they were great. Took a lot to fillet them, but you get one fish bone caught in your throat as a kid. It's a
memorable experience.
But of course, y'all are in charge of the hunting and fishing license, and when people purchase hunting and fishing license, where do those funds go?
They go straight back into the agency, and we're different from most state agencies, we are not funded by tax dollars.
Right.
We're funded solely by license sales and boat registration.
You know, it's funny. We talk about sales tax increases. We get a few calls, but anytime they ever talk about going up on the TWRA on your hunt and fishing license, I would get calls. Man, I can't pay $3 more.
And it's crazy.
It's one of the cheapest in the country, actually, and it's one of the most efficiently run groups ever.
We've raised. I think the prices have raised one time in the last 25 years. But everybody says every year they raise them. I'm like, no, one time in 25 years.
So the reason people buy them, I mean, it's the law first of all, but also it allows you all to fund you all 100%. Correct.
Correct, and it goes back into. It could be hunter education. It could be a roadway or a bridge for public access to public property. It could be a dock building for public access. It could be going into a lake, stocking fish, building a boat ramp. There's so much infrastructure we have to keep up with, and it also goes into the enforcement arm, so we're out there.
Right, but it's not just enforcement.
Correct.
It's a lot of other everything.
Agency, and they divvy it out where they see fit.
Of course, I've stated we're lucky to live. My daddy used to say, you know, you could drive anywhere, any direction, north, south, east, or west, and you ever run into a lake or a stream somewhere in East Tennessee. I'm wondering what would be the most important thing that we could do as Tennesseans to protect all this for the future generations?
Ooh, that's a good question. You know, buy that license, that funds us is one. Others is getting the younger generation involved with being on the water or being in the woods, whether it's wildlife watching with a camera or you know, taking a gun or a bow in season, and getting the younger generation invested in the ecosystem, invested in the environment, and that will pay dividends down the road.
I can always remember going out hunting, fishing with my daddy. I remember one time I always drive by it, and I drive my staff crazy because we go down to Lenore City and Loudon, there's a spot on the side. Now it's a subdivision, but back when I was young, I had a 410 shotgun, single shot, and it was super cold that day, and I believe the limit back then was 8 dove, and so we pulled off. We saw these people over there, and so Scotty Dunford was with us. He's a dentist. He's my dentist. I was a little boy, and he'd pull up. We pulled off, and we said, I wonder if we can hunt this field, you know, for dove. And Scotty goes, well, I'll go check. So he walks out in the middle of the field, finds who the owner is. He says, sure. And then Scotty's walking back, and a dove flew over, and he shot it, and that was our signal. We got out of the car, and there we were. And that was, and TWRA would always, they were out there. They just making sure we were safe. They weren't hassling anybody, and they're generally folks from Tennessee, which is pretty cool. A lot of them are from around this area. They don't speak with a funny accent.
We've got a few, but majority of our officers are homegrown. Right.
Well, this is the point in the show that I dislike the most, and I can edit it out if you say something I don't like, but if you get to ask me anything you want.
Ooh. So what's your greatest hunting, fishing memory?
I don't know. My daddy and my dad was pretty cool. He would on Saturdays or Sundays, one or the other, he would take me hunting or fishing, and on the other day he would work with my brother on one of his car projects or motorcycles, and you know, going dove hunting. But you know, I can remember coming up here along these coves and along the lakes there, fishing with a popping bug and catching bluegill. And of course, we'd always put in at Shoto Marina, way down. I remember we'd leave the house on Sundays. We'd always say we're going to do it early, but we'd always end up being 4 o'clock, and I have vivid memories of holding up stringers of bluegill. We'd get home and we'd clean 40 or 50 bluegill and occasionally get a catfish. Daddy would always fish for bass, you know, but most of the time he was just trying to make sure I get the hook out of my head or something. But I always remember one time my buddy Chris Haggerty and I were fishing with him, and we and Daddy's prize fishing rod, it was a Mitchell Garcia, fell off into the water, and we got out and we swam for it and couldn't find it, and Daddy said, all right, I'm going to do one more time, and because it was getting dark, it was Sunday, we had to be in school Monday morning, and then he hung it right on the end of the tip and brought it in, and I still have that rod and reel to this day. And because I remember I said, Lord, if he can just get this. I remember praying, and Dad said, as you know, I prayed about it. I didn't want to bother God. It's just a fishing rod, but it's, you know, but now I have that fishing rod and reel, and I'll give that to my daughter, and that's a pretty cool memory, because it was just, you know, I can tell you how many catfish pulling a fishing pole into the water and jumping in, and my buddy Sonny Parton and I were fishing one time down with my dad, and just all that, and of course dove hunting. When dove season would open, we would get with it. So, but anyway, and I would remind people this weekend: do not drink and drive, especially on the water. You'll end up losing your life or causing somebody else to perish or get hurt. But anyway, I want to thank you so much for being on another episode of Tennessee Talks, and let's keep our state beautiful, and y'all do it, and you keep it fun, and it's really cool, and I appreciate you being with me, Jeffrey. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all sending me here.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Tennessee Talks. Please subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Keep up with Congressman Burchett by following Rep. Tim Burchett on Twitter and Instagram, and Congressman Tim Burchett on Facebook and YouTube.